Jhin is a rather unique AD carry. Most marksmen excel in longer fights where they attack constantly, but Jhin is more comparable to an AD caster with huge amounts of burst damage. Anyway, in this Jhin guide, you get everything you need to know in less than 5 minutes. First of all, Jhin's lack of consistent damage in teamfights comes with a huge drawback. In mid and late game skirmishes, you will have a very hard time dealing with opposing tanks unless you got a massive lead early on. Jhin is probably the only AD carry in the game that cannot outscale tanks, so blindly picking him into every team composition will be a bad idea. Champions like Nunu, Blitzcrank or Garen have the potential to shut you down completely with their massive health and resistances, so if none of your teammates can shred tanks, you do not want to play Jhin in this lobby. The reason for all of this is, of course, Jhin's passive. Being limited to only 4 bullets with fixed attack speed while also needing to go through a reloading animation afterwards is quite the big deal. You simply cannot make effective use of classic tank shredding items like Blade of the Ruined King or Kraken Slayer. Instead of relying on death by 1,000 cuts, you have to make each individual bullet count as much as possible. Jhin's fixed attack speed is compensated for by converting bonus attack speed and crit chance you buy with items into raw attack damage. Without this conversion, you would have to rely on lethality items, which are definitely a viable option, but in order to get the most out of Jhin's passive, going for standard marksman crit items is definitely optimal. Jhin's Q is your primary wave clear tool, but also important for harassing your opponent in lane and during all-in fights. Jhin has a lot of downtime in between his auto attacks, so in order to maximize your damage, you should only fight when you have your Q ready for your auto-Q-auto combo. If you don't have it ready, you would just be standing there waiting for your next bullet, while the opposing AD carry can attack you for free with their superior attack speed. In situations like these, it is better to play a hit and run strategy and disengage after just one auto attack. If you manage to simply trade auto for auto with your enemy, you will always come out ahead, since one single Jhin bullet deals way more damage than one of your opponent's attacks. This is especially true for your 4th shot, which is always a critical strike that deals execute damage due to your passive. Additionally, the bonus movement speed you get from your crits makes disengaging afterwards super easy. Jhin's W is another damage spell that you can use in between your auto attacks for optimal DPS, but it is also a threatening follow-up tool. Its massive range allows you to heavily capitalize off of your teammates' engages, and its narrow hitbox doesn't even matter when firing at a stunned target. Reliable hard crowd control is pretty rare on AD carries, so Jhin's W is a huge advantage for your team. Jhin's E, however, is a rather underwhelming ability. It has its moments, but most of the time you will be using this for wave clear or to scout for vision. Your ultimate is a very strong execute against low health enemies, but it is also further polarizing your matchup spread. It completely destroys squishy champions even from full HP, but it effectively does nothing against tanks. If there is even just one tank on the enemy team, make sure to get them low before casting your ultimate. If you don't, they will always body block all the shots for their allies and then simply shrug it off. Jhin scales heavily with movement speed since he has plenty of time to reposition in between auto attacks. Therefore, your optimal rune page is Fleet Footwork, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline and Coup de Grace with Biscuit Delivery and Time Warp Tonics secondary. The movement speed on your keystone lets you dictate the pace of the lane phase, since it will be very hard for your opponent to avoid trades when you speed yourself up. Additionally, Jhin gets more healing from this rune than any other champion because Fleet Footwork scales with all the bonus attack damage from your passive. This in combination with Legend Bloodline should be more than enough sustain throughout all stages of the match, allowing you to prioritize more utility in other rune slots. Presence of Mind and Biscuits take care of your mana, which is important since Jhin has to rely on his abilities more than most other marksmen. Biscuits are also a great combo with Time Warp Tonic, providing huge movement speed during all-in fights, which is especially deadly in lane. This gets further amplified by your starting items, boots and 4 potions, letting you force your trading patterns onto the opponent. Your first real item, Gale Force, in combination with Boots of Swiftness, increases your target access even more, while also giving you another execute effect that scales with your passive attack damage. Target access is truly everything for Jhin, so next you click the subscribe button and buy Rapid Fire Cannon. The long-ranged auto attack hurts a lot due to your massive AD, and it also sets up combos with your W snare. From here, the focus of your build shifts towards more damage, as you can now buy Infinity Edge with 60% crit. Both your passive 4th shot and the final bullet on your ultimate benefit from crit modifiers, making Infinity Edge highly efficient. Entering the late game, even squishy champions will have tons of base armor from leveling up, so Lord Dominic's Regards is a must-buy if you don't want to fall off. Your last item is the only flexible slot, allowing you to adapt to late-game threats, but when in doubt, get Guardian Angel. If you want to take a closer look at Jhin's unique playstyle, you can learn from the best Jhin players in the world by clicking the link on your screen right there.